Well, good morning. It's the 9th of March 2018. Another video in the series of videos that I wanted to do. Just got to make sure I've got lots of volume here because I find my voice is crackling a little bit. Anyway, what we're going to talk to you about today is your grandmother. Yep. Françoise Marie-Paul Seguin. Well, I met Fran in North Bay. I was first transferred to North Bay in February of 1974. I lived on the base, a young guy. My uncle and my aunt lived here. But anyways, they had a chip stand, and anyways, I met Fran, my wife, your grandmother, and my uncle had a little snack bar, and she worked for him behind the counter at the snack bar. So I had a cousin, Don Cloutier. He was about my age. A great guy. We hung around together, and we would go to the snack bar and we would peel potatoes. So the girls at the snack bar had potatoes to chip to sell the French fries. So anyways, at the end of the night, I mean, I had a car, a young guy. I would drive all the girls home at the end of their shift at night and clean up and make sure I'd peel potatoes. So that's how we met. One night I was walking home, and she was walking home, and I don't know, we just hit it off, I guess. And I lived at my brother Rainey's, which was not very far from where Mr. and Mrs. Seguin, Fran, grew up. So, and my uncle lived very close also, so I got to see her a few times. So we kind of hit it off, and the rest there, I guess, was history. Anyways, we got married in October 8th, 1977, in North Bay. It was in the fall. It was kind of a dull, rainy day that day. My brother Mitch was my best man. Whenever I think of him, sometimes I want to kick him right where it doesn't get frostbitten or sunburnt. Some of the frickin' things he did to me. But anyway, it was all good. So anyway, we got married. Father Blais was the priest that married us at St. Jean's over on Maplewood, which is no longer there. It was a good time, I guess, in our lives. Eh? So Fran went to Algonquin High School. She was considerably younger than I was at that period of time. I think we started going out. She had to be not robbing the cradle now. My dad used to say that, you're robbing the cradle. She was about 16, I guess, 17. And I would pick her up at school, drop her off at school, stuff like that. We finally got married, and she went to college into Ottawa. She went to Algonquin College. I took her nursing in Algonquin College, so needless to say, I made quite a few trips to Ottawa to visit Fran, and she had a little apartment there. She did very well. Very smart lady, very great mom. Great, couldn't ask for better as a grandmother. She, anyway, she went to university or college there, and when she came back to North Bay, she got a job at in Sturgeon Falls, at the hospital in Sturgeon Falls. So we took an apartment there, and we lived in Sturgeon Falls. Fran worked there, and I was still working up at the military base. I would drive back and forth every day. One day I got in a fight with my landlord, and she came home from work, and she was pregnant for Gabe. So I told her, I says, get in the car. She says, why? I says, we're enough of this renting bullshit. So we're going to get in the car, and we drove to North Bay and we bought a house. But anyways, it was a little house over on 168 K&K Drive, little two-story semi. It was rough, but we had the money that when I sold my cottage and there was my little camp in the Sioux, that we had money for our down payment and some extra money to work on it, fix it up if we needed it. And that's exactly what we did. So anyways, Gab was born in North Bay. Two of the happiest days of my life were when my two sons were born. Just awesome, awesome young men. But anyways, me being in the military, I was gone my fair share. Anyways, we lived in North Bay for a few years. Then all of a sudden I got transferred. We were transferred to the East Coast. I was a master corporal at that time. I went to Cornwallis, Nova Scotia as an instructor at the recruit depot. So we put our little house on the market. We sold it, and we made our way to Ottawa. It was a big step for us. Fran had to quit her job. Gab was about a year old. We made Matt on the trip going down, I guess, when we went down on our house hunting trip. We bought a little house in Digby, Nova Scotia. We really didn't want to live on the base. I just felt at that period of my life that I didn't want Fran too much associated with the military. She knew I was in the military, but I think for the longest time, she didn't have a clue of what exactly I did, other than the fact that I did work on airplanes. But anyways, Cornwallis was a tough go, really, for Fran. I was gone a lot. I tell everybody today, and I'll tell you now, you can look at your dads, and if they're any good, it's got nothing to do with me. Because Fran raised those two kids. She pushed them up and down the streets of Digby, and it was a pretty heavy load for her at that period of time. But I had a career. I believed I had a career that I had to do, and I was the only breadwinner at that point in time. Every year we would take a trip back to North Bay. I think the two of us found that it was important that our kids knew where their roots were, where they came from, where their family was, and that was North Bay. So anyways, from Cornwallis, Fran and I, we at the end of 3 years, which was at the end of my tour, I was transferred then to Ottawa, to which Fran and I relocated to Ottawa, and once again we rented for a little period of time. We had a house built, as a matter of fact, when we first got there, and then about a month before we were supposed to take possession of the house, the guy went bankrupt. So all our money was tied up with the builder that went bankrupt. We were fairly lucky. The builder was insured. So we got about 99% of our money back, other than about $500, which, whatever, I took my lump there, but that was not a big deal. So then we bought a little townhouse on Ballard Crescent in North Bay, right across from the golf course in Gloucester. And that's where we did our tour there in Ottawa. Kids grew up, went to French school. They did very well. Yeah, it was. We were okay there. I got sick in Ottawa. Matter of fact, when I was in Ottawa, I worked at headquarters on the Indian National Defense Headquarters in Rockcliffe. I was involved with the CF-18 program when we bought the CF-18 for the military. I worked in the configuration management cell of the CF-18, and we controlled all the documents, all the modifications, etc., etc. Anyways, in about 1983, I was in the Sioux fishing with my dad, and I had lumps in my neck. When I went home, I told Fran, I said, "Gee, something not right." So she checked my neck. So it's probably just time of year cold, glands are swollen. So I just blew it off. I wasn't feeling too bad. So from that, then I went to. It was around May, and the lump in my neck was considerably bigger. So I walked over. I was in Rockcliffe headquarters, and we had a clinic right there. So I walked over to see the doctor in the clinic, and he checked my neck out and looked at me, and he says, "You got your car here?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm going to send you right up to NDMC, and that's the Military Medical Hospital in Ottawa." I said, "Sure." He said, "Oh, somebody I want you to see there." I said, "Okay." So anyways, I got the paperwork, drove up to NDMC, and went in and seen this doctor, and he checked me over real good. And he said it was just like somebody got a new toy. They had to show somebody, right? So anyways, he says, "Come on with me." He says, "I want somebody else to take a look at you." So I go down the hall, they check me again, another doctor checks me again, lays me down on the table. So he says, "Let's see if we can get something out of it." Well, he shoved a needle in my neck to try and lance this mass that was in my neck. I never believed that anybody could walk across a table on the cheeks of their rear end, but I did that day. Anyway, he didn't freeze it or anything. He said the freezing would have hurt more than what he did. So I wanted to disagree with him, but I didn't think I was in any position to do so. But anyways, make a long story short, from there they took a biopsy. They brought me in the next day, which was just a panic situation. I went from 0 to 60, and they wanted to do a biopsy. So to which they did. They did a biopsy on my right side of my neck. They took the mass out of my neck. So I was in the hospital. Gab and Matt would come in and see me. They were all concerned and where I was living and that kind of thing. But I was very scared at that point in time. My health was in jeopardy. 2 small kids, a young wife, and we're scared. We all were, right? So anyways, the results come in. I go down. I sit down with the doctor, and he called me and he said, "I want to come in and see you." I said, "Sure." I says, "When?" He says, "Right now." I says, "I don't want to go see you right now." I said, "I'll call my wife. Get my wife to come in. We'll both go in." I said, "I don't want to have to explain to her something I may not understand." "Sure, not a problem." So Fran came in, and we went in and sat down with him, and he went through the report. Took his glasses off, put them on the table. He says, "If I was a betting man," he says, "I would believe that you had Hodgkin's disease. But," he says, "you're still sick. But," he says, "the sick you've got," he says, "I think we can fix you." So I had sarcoidosis. So I did treatments for the sarcoid, which was a very, very, very traumatic point in Fran's life and in my life. Kids were small; they wouldn't really have understood what was going on. And I beat that, and about a year and a half later, after everything is settled, and I was transferred back to North Bay, where I did, I think it's another 4-year tour in North Bay, and it was a saving grace in my career and my life, because after being sick in Ottawa, my kids and my wife needed that stability, needed family around them, that they had somebody to turn to other than strangers. Anyways, I won't talk too much more about it. I'll pick it up hopefully maybe in the next video on when I was transferred from North Bay, and we took a posting in Bagotville, Quebec. Talking a bit.